Recently here at SOPAC, I sat down with jazz pianist David Benoit as he was rehearsing his Peanuts Christmas concert. What is the connection you have with Peanuts, with Charlie Brown? What is it about this music, about those characters for you?
I read the Peanuts comic strip, and I identify with Charlie Brown right away, just because he was a loser and couldn't get anything right, and depressed most of the time. It was like my childhood. So
that's what you were.
Yeah. I mean, until I really got good at the piano, I just couldn't find myself, And then I started getting better at the piano, and then that special came on, the Charlie Brown Christmas, and that music just turned me on. It was just like, that's what I want to do. Fast forward a few years, I recorded a version of the Linus and Lucy theme, and it became a big hit on CD 101 in New York. And then it caught the attention of Lee Mendelsohn, the producer, and then he hired me to score a film that they were doing, This Is America, Charlie Brown. And we just hit it off. And then eventually he introduced me to Charles Schultz, and the kind of rest is history.
I was 9 years old when I started piano lessons, and boy did it not take. Those were some painful recitals, let me tell you. I stuck at it for 6 years. What do you have, besides talent, that I and so many other people who dreamed to do this just do not have?
I remember actually doing a recital where I had a classical piece and I froze, and I went right into one of my jazz pieces, and I remember that moment where the audience responded. But the word talent or gift, because I'm going to be honest, it came very easy. It just came easy. When something comes that easy, you just sort of go, well, I guess I should be doing this because it just is natural. It just felt natural. I didn't have a piano lesson until I was 13 because we had sold the piano, and that's a whole long story. But so I was.
They needed the money.
Yeah, well, they moved, so they didn't want to cart the piano around, so they sold it when I was about 7. It was kind of traumatic because that was my friend, and that's where I lived. And so I went through a very awkward stage. I wasn't good with girls, and I wasn't, my brothers were very into sports and surfing, and I was this lost kid. And this instrument I found myself through this instrument. I found it was a way for me to communicate.
When it's just you, alone, playing the piano, what's driving you to do it? Is there a state of mind you're usually in when you come to this?
That's a great question. No one's really ever asked me that. And I have to be very, very relaxed. If I'm tense or got a lot on my mind, it's hard for me to focus. It's usually when I'm just really relaxed, and sometimes I'll just sit down and maybe play an old standard or just anything I want, or sometimes I'll just improvise and make up stuff. Hey, while we're waiting, you want maybe just run a little bit of one of the jazz tunes? How about just a little bit of feeling it, just 8 bars or so.
Credited as almost the inventor of the smooth jazz genre. Why do you hate the term smooth jazz so much if you created it?
I created a monster. Well, there was a few of us that were part of that creation, myself and Lee Rittenauer and Dave Grusin. We were part of that early GRP generation of musicians that came from straight ahead jazz that had a background in bebop and acoustic jazz. And I think in the beginning it was good. I think what happened was it just got more dumbed down until the recent stuff it wasn't creative anymore, and I think that's why a lot of the older artists you know, like David Sanborn or Lee, or, you know, bristle at the word smooth jazz, and we all get played on the smooth jazz station. That's, you know, how we made a pretty good living. I think the word smooth has had a kind of a negative connotation, you know, elevator music and all this and background music, so I've tended to shy away from it a bit.